Last week I started out with a trick question. What is it about this woman's life that Jesus just can't forgive? And hopefully you and your group came to the conclusion that there is nothing that this woman could have possibly done that Jesus can't forgive. And while we were talking about this Samaritan woman, I'm hoping that you came to that conclusion for yourself too. And walked away with a whole lot of hope. Man, there's nothing that I can do that God can't forgive. And that's one of those truths that we have, that we carry with us, that we walk around with this freedom. And I hope that you feel free because of that truth that you learned last week. Now, last week, I challenged you to kind of start studying chapter 5. Now, I know that chapter 5 is tough. There's a lot of discourse between Jesus and the Jews, or better known as the Pharisees, and just kind of back and forth. And I don't expect you this week to recount that all from memory. But one of the things I do want you to answer is this question: what is Jesus saying that is so offensive to the people? They seem so offended. In fact, at one point, they want to kill him. What is so offensive that would warrant trying to kill him? Now, before you get started, this whole thing starts because of a healing at this pool. Now, one of the things that you should know is that there was a Greek god of healing, and his name is Asclepius. And the story of Jesus healing this man bears some resemblance to this Greek god. And so again, just like Dionysus was the Greek god of wine, and Jesus turns water into wine, here Asclepius is the Greek god of healing, and Jesus is doing a healing. And for many of the Hellenistic Jews, or also the Greeks, they would be going, man, Jesus is so much better than my old beliefs. And I'm hoping that some of us in here that came in with other beliefs, we're going, man, maybe Jesus is better than my old beliefs. This healing was important, and there's a little bit of background that you may not know as you were reading this, is that there was a legend that they all believed. And all of these sick people used to lie around this particular pool. And the legend is that when the waters would be stirred, okay, and for whatever reason, we're not sure why the waters would stir, but it would happen at a random time, and they believed that an angel was stirring those waters. And the idea was the first person to jump, to lob themselves into the water, would be healed. And so here we find a man that was laying there for 38 years, but he was never able to get into the pool first. And so here he has this interaction with Jesus that changes his life forever. But the problem is, Jesus did this work on the Sabbath. Dun, dun, dun. The Sabbath, and you're going to learn more about the Sabbath. But the Sabbath was the Jewish day of rest. It was a Saturday. Every Saturday they were to take the whole day off and not do anything. And the Jews had actually put a whole bunch of rules on the Sabbath that didn't even exist in necessarily the Old Testament. This man should not have been carrying his mat. Jesus should not have been doing ministry. All of this stuff, all of these rules. And so here's Jesus doing ministry, and so they see him doing ministry on the Sabbath, and they're like, ha, we got him. The Pharisees who didn't like Jesus, we finally got him on something. Because nobody who's from God would violate the Sabbath. And they had kind of put God into this little box that God doesn't do any work on any day, on any Sabbath day. He can do work on every other day, but not on the Sabbath. And so they finally figured that they got him. And then all of a sudden, when they're confronting him, Jesus is referring to God as his Father. How dare he? A little bit further down in verse 25, Jesus talks about the dead, how he will make the dead to live. Now, in the beginning, he's talking from a spiritual point of view. That Jesus is going to help the people who are spiritually dead become spiritually alive. But by the end of his little speech, he's also referring to what we call the rapture, and that at the end times, that God will even raise the physically dead. Jesus kind of closes this area, and starting in verse 31 through the end of the chapter, about testimonies. And see, in Jewish culture, if you had a testimony about something, if you were testifying against somebody or whatever, you had to have your testimony validated by at least 2 other people. It was kind of a rule for them. And so Jesus is saying, hey, look, if you don't want to believe my testimony is validated. Number one, it was validated by this guy by the name of John the Baptist. Right? He validates my testimony, but I don't even need somebody who a human to validate, because I have the miracles that I'm doing that are validating my testimony. And if that's not enough, God the Father has validated me through the Old Testament scriptures. The scriptures that you pay so much attention to, they're the ones that are actually testifying about me. And so again, let me take you back to the original question. What is it? I mean, all this stuff that seems to make so much sense. What is it about what Jesus is saying is so offensive to them? Have a great time in your small groups. I'll see you next week.